What's up, guys and gals, and welcome to the first episode of Savage Lands, which I've had my eye on for quite some time. And speaking of charged particles, this is a game that you actually, well, I don't think this has anything to do with charged particles, so unfortunately that joke is going to fall alright, but it's okay. It's alright. It went nowhere, but unfortunately sometimes you just gotta like walk away from it and let it happen. So what's going to happen today is we're going to be checking out Savage Lands for the first time. I played it for a couple hours last night, so technically it's not the first time, but there is still a lot of new content in the game that I've never been able to get my hands on, and I've never played around with. I've never had armor. I've never had a house. Basically, all I've done is explored and adventured. Now, what is Savage Lands for the uninitiated or people that don't know? Savage Lands is a survival game that takes a little bit of a cue from like fantasy games, so it's a little bit of Skyrim, it's a little bit of Stranded Deep, and once you combine those two things together and add like a hefty dose of like magic and like random witchcraftery, you have Savage Lands, and it pops out the other end. And so for obvious reasons, the game was very, very interesting to me when I first saw it. Now, the game is difficult to get your hands on as of right now. Next month in March, it should be going out on early access on Steam, and at that point, you'll be able to buy your way into the game. But as of right now, you actually have to be part of a roulette to get into the game, as far as I understand, and it's one of the reasons that I wasn't able to get into the game earlier. Essentially, you just kind of like sign up for beta access, and or they'll do, the developers will do Twitch streams, and they will randomly give away keys during the Twitch stream to let people into the game for beta testing and alpha testing right now. And so the game is in very, very, very early access. It hasn't even come out on Steam yet. Like, this is not even early access yet. It's early alpha. You can only get in by roulette, and so here we are. Let's play the game, shall we? First things first, we're going to go ahead and pick ourselves a character. Our character's name, I already got this one lined up. I thought about it last night. This is one of my long-term MMO names, Smash Nasty. I used to be in a guild where it was me and all my friends back in the day, and all of our last names would be Nasty, and your first name had to rhyme with Smash, and so it was Smash, Clash, Crash, Rash, you know, Bash, and they were all nasty, and then our guild name was the Nasty Crew, and then crew on the back end was spelled like Motley Crue with like the little umlaut. Anyways, it was pretty awesome. I enjoyed it. People seemed to think it was interesting. So Smash Nasty's our character. We're going to create a new game, and we need to create a save name for this game. Now, typically, being the grown, like, 30-year-old man that I am, typically I choose something incredibly mature, like fart, or like, I don't know, just any other word like that. But unfortunately today, I'm feeling immature, and so I'm going to go with something very, very interesting. I think I'll go with, what sounds really, really good for my save game? I don't know. Nothing sounds super. I'm going to go with cranberry. No, not cranberry. Yeah, cranberry, actually. We'll take no, 3 E's. That's unacceptable. We learned that rule. There we go, cranberry. I never had a cranberry before. I don't know, it sounds like it'd be pretty good. I like cranberry juice a lot. Like, seriously, cranberry juice is one of those things that I can go through a bottle very, very quickly. I don't know, it's something about the aftertaste. It's not even like that main flush of like sourness. It's something about the way the notes end with when you drink it that, oh dear, where are we right now? Okay, well, welcome to Savage Lands. I can't promise that the frame rate is going to be super steady. The game is very, 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 like, early in production, and so there's actually a surprising amount of content in the game for the date of its publication. I mean, for not even being out yet, the game does have quite a bit of stuff to do. The difference, though, is that a lot of the stuff you're going to do is going to be like a little bit of busy work, I guess. So, for example, like building a house is going to take like 7,000 rocks and like 1,000,000 sticks, you know what I mean? And so a lot of the ways that they sort of like inflate the gameplay, it just takes a lot of resources to get anything done. Part of that makes me really, really nervous about the way that this series is going to go, but then again, I don't think I'm actually going to make it a series. I think that by and large, what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to kind of like treat it just like as a short look, I guess. We'll probably do like 5 or 6 episodes, and whenever it becomes like irritating and like cumbersome in order to get anything done, that's when we'll like walk away and do something else. So there will be frame rate issues. The game has not been optimized yet. Obviously, it's not even out on Steam just yet. I kind of like lucked into this one. So there's going to be a lot of little things that you'll have to fiddle around with in order to get the game up and running. I'll fiddle with them as I see fit. Maybe during the course of the episode, I'll make little cuts and like fiddle with different settings and things like that. But the first thing you need to know about the HUD, in the top left corner, there's going to be a couple of bars. The blue bar, that isn't, it's not magic, it's not going to be mana or anything like that. That's actually your coldness bar. When that gets all the way down to 0, you start freezing to death and actually losing health very, very quickly. Like, seriously, your health will start to drop off incredibly fast. It'll be like, bing, bing, oh, what's that? You don't like it? I don't know what happens. Like, I don't know what the number is exactly, what number of health you will lose when that hits 0, but I can promise you that it's a negative number, and it happens at an interval, and it happens at an interval that is very, very small. So keep an eye out for that. Don't pluck your eye out, though. You'll need that for later. Leave it right where it is. Just pop it back on in. I saw a lady on the internet one time that could pop her eyes out of the sockets. It was kind of wild, and then they would just like smush back in. We need to find rocks for right now. So anyways, I don't know why I'm talking about a lady whose eyes fall out. I'd be a little bit worried if my eyes fell out like on command. Even if I could do it, I don't know if I could trust myself. I'd be standing in the supermarket, little kids would be walking by, and I'd just be like, book, and just pop my eyes. I'd be like, wah! Like losing their minds. Oh yeah, we start with some stuff. So here's our inventory. We start with a bunch of cloth, which for whatever reason does not stack up. You can restack that if you want. We start with a little bit of meat, a little bit of apples, and a fistful of nuts, just in case you like to shove nuts in your mouth. Later on, I will totally admit that I'll love to shove nuts in my mouth, but I gotta wait for my hunger meter to be high enough. Not in the mood right now. Not in the mood. So, 90%. The meter that is yellow is gonna be our stamina meter. Now, in this game, you do not want to sprint. Things have not been finely tuned at the moment such that it's going to be conducive to your gameplay experience to sprint. Sprinting causes you to lose a lot of stamina, and it does not come back until you eat, and so I would highly recommend that you just like run everywhere. This is your default run. If you hold down the control key, it's going to allow you to walk. You have a shadow, which is pretty cool. You don't have feet, though. Right now, it looks like our characters from Dead Island. I don't know if you guys ever played Dead Island, but the character models always had kind of like a strange posture where they were just like, ah. Our guy has like this gunslinger thing going on. You can't see it right now because the ocean is blocking my happiness. But anyways, there it is right there. He's like, ah, are you ready to draw? Is that you, John Wayne? Is this me? Anyways, let's go off this way. We've got an axe. We could chop down some trees, but as of right now, that's probably not the wisest idea. That's probably an idea that we don't want to fiddle around with for the time being. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to walk down the beach, and there's actually a little hunter's lodge down here at the end. Now, I can't claim credit for having found this on my own. I saw it in somebody else's video. He's posted up on the Steam forums. I'll do him a favor, and I'll try and, because he showed me this right here, I'll do my best. And down the beach, there should be a fire somewhere. So if we end up finding it anytime soon, I'm going to link his channel down below so you guys can check out his content. Just because I don't think it's really fair that, like, I claim, well, I mean, it's in the game. It's like a thing that's there. But I don't think that it's fair that I, like, look at this super awesome tip that I am giving to you, my viewer. I'm doing it totally pro bono. When, in fact, I got this from a guy. It's not a thing that, like, I knew about on my own. So anyways, we should see fire. I'm not sure how long this walk is going to be down. We may have spawned in a different spot, too. The game seems to spawn you in a random spot along the ocean. And given where we might be, I thought I knew where we were. I recognized the boat, and I recognized the rock that we were standing next to. I try to stay near the beach as much as possible. Once you get inland, there's a lot of walking and not a lot to look at. There are interesting things up in there, like magical mage towers and things like that. But they're few and far between, and so you kind of got to wander before you find them. Hopefully we'll see this fire up in here somewhere. I think it's like right there. But anyways, I'll come back in just a minute once we find it. Well, there's no fire to be found, but I did find this ruined house over here. So the game is not randomly generated as far as I know. All of the stuff will stay where it is for the time being, I think. If you get up into the hills, there's like mage towers, there's whole cities, there's all kinds of crazy stuff like up into the hills, but there's a lot of walking in between each time. I'm thinking that since I haven't hit that campfire yet that's along the beach, unfortunately I think we may have spawned in a different spot where they had a reused asset or something like that. I swear though, where there's a boat and those two rocks that you just walk down this way, and there would be a campfire. So if you walk the beach a little bit, there is stuff along the beach that you can pick clean. It'll have random resources and stuff laying around. Over here, it looks like we've got a couple of lean-tos and a house. I've never seen this location before, so I'm not sure what to look for. Luckily, the items in this game, while they are difficult to see, they are clearly labeled. So there's some cloth shreds right there. Those are going to be useful for a couple of different projects, but the big one that they're going to be useful for is crafting ourselves band-aids, just in case we don't want to bleed any further. Oh, some tree nuts. Hell yeah, I'd be like, hey, tree, you know you dropped these, right? He's like, oh yeah, you know, me and the old lady, we're trying not to have kids anyway, so just leave them where they lie. Don't tell my wife, she'll put them in her purse. There's the joke, but alright, so we'll go over here. Let's have a look inside the house. Sometimes there's loot inside these, sometimes there isn't, but throughout the game, you're going to find all kinds of goodies like this, so just keep your eyes open. There's always places to explore in this game as you wander around. I guess the two pieces of cloth and the tree nuts might be the best thing that we've come across so far. I'm just going to check the back end in here. I think there's another like set of hunting lodges or other little like hunting lean-tos or whatever they are out there. So let's talk about survival. Let's talk about survival. I think that's going to be one of those things that people really, really want me to talk about. Every time we play a survival game, people want me to talk about my tips for surviving in whatever the various location is. And one of the things this game has going for it is that it's one of the few games that makes you survive in a biome. Oh, a red apple. Oh, good, cool. I said a rad apple, but a red apple works too. A rad apple seems like one of those things that they really, really would try and market the hell out of in the late 80s. Like, it's not just an apple. It's a rad apple, dude. It's a rad apple. You have to have it, man. Let's see here. We've got a stone over on this side. That's actually fairly useful because we need a bunch of those. We can't use this fire pit. It's burned out. Survival in a tundra-like environment or in kind of like an aspen snow environment, I have really, really bad news for you. It's not going to work out for any of us involved. This is actually one of the worst environments you can try and survive in, even compared to like the desert, because in the desert there are going to be various Native American tricks you can use in order to survive, and indeed those tricks do exist here in this world as well, or at least in an aspen environment. However, the problem is the time constraint when you're surviving in a situation like this. So you have to take this from two different directions in your assumptions as to how you're going to survive in a snow-laden environment. The first is, do you have the clothing to survive in this place in the first place? If you've got ski clothing or any type of down clothing or insulated clothing, then that's going to be a load off your mind. There are things that try and kill you in this game, and they frequently run out of bushes, by the way, in case you were wondering why I'm swinging around and being all paranoid. Swing your character round and round. Monsters come up out the ground. Alright, so anyways, we're back to what we were saying. If you don't have the clothing, then yeah, you're gonna die. That's the first, like, I don't want to make anybody panic. If you're watching this right now on your iPhone and you're stranded in an aspen environment and it's really, really cold and there's like snow everywhere, I apologize, bro, but I got nothing for you. This is a really, really bad idea. I mean, your best bet would probably be to gather something up. It depends if you have a fire starting device as well or any way to start a fire. But the problem, the big problem that you're going to run into in surviving in a location like this is going to be everything runs by a time constraint, and there's a new set of rules for playing the game in a world like this. And what I mean along those lines is that everything you do is going to be constrained by the fact that you can't sweat. This is something that I don't think people think about when you're in a cold environment, but sweat is actually the killer right here. So if you sweat, your clothes get wet. That much is very, very simple, and I think anybody can jump onto that concept right there. There's a free log. Anybody? Anybody want a free log? It's slightly cracked. It's also got like some weird texturing going on, but I bet it'd feel good if you rub it on your face, kind of like as a face itcher. If you're wondering why I made a cut right there, it's just because we had to walk back to the place from whence we came. I'll probably circle around some of these rocks to see if there's any stones or anything about, because we do have to... See, there you go. There's a flint right there. The flint, that's going to be a frost fern. But anyways, you want to be careful about sweating when you're in an environment like this. You don't want to overexert yourself. And actually, if you watch any experienced survivalists, when they survive in an environment like this, they take their clothes off whenever they do anything strenuous, so that if they sweat, they don't get their clothes wet, and then they just wait to dry out next to their fire or whatever it is before they put their clothing back on. But even so, assuming you can get a fire up and running, this is a rough place to get any sort of food or sustenance from. You're going to need to know how to make rabbit snares. You're going to need to know how to make figure 4 deadfalls. You're really going to have to, even compared to a desert, the desert is actually fairly lush once you get to nighttime if you know what to look for. An environment like this is actually, if you look around, this shrub right here is pretty much what it looks like. Now, I didn't grow up in a location where it looks like this, but this sort of reminds me of my trips up to the Sierras, which I've done many, many times growing up. I've never actually done any survivalism stuff up in an environment like this, but I have like read the sections in various books about locations like this, and the first thing you want to do is avoid sweating. So there it is. The second thing that you want to do is try to come up with some kind of shelter. And actually what most people will try and do in this situation, I think what is a good plan, is to find the base of a tree. You want to feel the direction that the wind is going to be coming from. If you're on a mountain, you got to determine whether you're on the Stoss side or whether you're on the leeward side. And if you don't know what that means, it pertains to as to whether the wind is coming from one direction versus another. It's, oh, there's the fire right there. So we're actually on the opposite end of it. I wasted a whole bunch of time in this episode trying to find something that we was on the wrong side of. All right, well, let's go on over to here. This campfire right here is always on the beach. It's always here. It never goes anywhere. It stays here for all eternity, at least until they decide that they want to randomize the gameplay. Now, what you will notice is that I told you all not to sprint, and I spent a whole bunch of time sprinting because I didn't want the episode to be boring, and I'm trying to get from place to place. That's just going to be something I can deal with and something that I have to live with in my game choices. You guys, though, should not run and sprint all over the time, especially if you don't know where you're getting your next meal from. It will be sort of a pain in the ass. Let's see what we got over here. You should always hit this place up when you first start the game out because it's got a couple of rudimentary supplies. The gear that spawns here is random, and the gear that spawns at any location is slightly random, I think. Let me see here. There's a cured meat. Okay, what it's been cured of, I can't really tell you, but hopefully it's disease-free at this point. And then is there anything else around here? The last time I was here, there was a hammer. And the previous time, there was a free axe. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to get that lucky. Now, when you die, what happens when you die? You lose all your items that you're carrying with you. You can go back and loot them, though, so your body will stay there a la DayZ mode or whatever. Choose your survival game. Your body will stay there. The game does have multiplayer on its way to be put in. I don't know what the ETA is for that, but it should be coming at some point. I'm actually probably going to eat some of these apples. Here. How do you like them apples? I like some plenty. I want some in my mouth. Let's see. There we go. There's my apple right there. It looks like I've got some ridiculous hand tumor. Like, hey, Smash, you feeling okay today? He'd be like, well, I got this huge hand tumor, but on the plus side, it tastes like apples. I don't know. I probably shouldn't be chewing on it. I should really probably consider talking to a doctor, but you know, it just tastes so delicious. I love that sour apple flavor. I just can't take it out of my mouth. Now, what you may have noticed right now, that should be the slogan for just like some randomly adult-themed snack or beverage. You just can't take it out of your mouth. Da-dun. The da-dun is when the trumpets come in at the end. So we can forge things in here, just in case you wanted to. Unfortunately, the game follows kind of like a weird progression. And what I mean by that is that as you create stuff, so this is going to be the crafting menu. You press the C button to get to here, and you can craft stuff. Indeed, there's lots of crafting in this game, but you might notice that we don't really have like a plethora, a large selection, a cornucopia of random items. We don't have those right now. There's not a whole lot going on for us at the moment. That's going to be largely limited to the fact that we haven't built a campfire yet. You've got to build, if you wanted to know how to advance your recipes, you press the J key, and then you click on this right here, and this is actually kind of like your checklist. As you complete things on this list, you'll unlock more and more and more items from your crafting list, and also as you loot stuff. So if I kill a guy and I loot like an iron mace from him, I will then learn how to make an iron mace. I may not have all the resources to do it, but because I have an iron mace, I can see how it's constructed. So there's a couple different ways to expand your knowledge as to how things work. For right now, we're all nice and warmed up. You'll see that our blue bar is back up to 100. So that'd be like one of those funny things that people could say to each other in this village. Like, God, I can't go out right now. My blue bar is killing me. I got blue bar like a bastard right now. If we go that way, there's a city. That way right there. So if you kind of cut in between, you see those rocks right there and the campfire right there. If you kind of get like halfway in between them, I tend to use like maybe like this rock right here as the placeholder, and you just shoot straight that way. I don't have any guns or anything, but I'm saying you just walk right over that way. You should be able to find a city. It's a ruined city. This world is kind of strange like that, where everybody is gone. Like, you're the only person here. When you walk around, you find corpses, and you find pieces of people, but fully intact, like, integrity-ridden people, not around. Not a whole lot of them. Something appears to have come through and cleared them all out. I can't wait to see what the lore of the world is, because the game becomes very, very haunting as you get further and further into it. I'll say that much for it for sure. But as of right now, people are probably going to want my synopsis of the gameplay experience before we end off this episode. And looking at my timer, we've got about 7 or 8 minutes left in the episode, and so I'd love to talk about that. I've played the game about 3 or 4 hours at this point. And if you're wondering what we're doing, so I'm going to gather sticks and stones so that we can make our first campfire. While I do that, I'm just going to talk about my first impressions of the game so that it's right there, it's in the front. If there are people that have complaints about the game or they don't like the game, at least they can't say that I was being disingenuous about the way that I played it. Everything I do on this channel is for entertainment value, but I do want to talk about the actual gaming merits of this game. Now, it's not really fair to throw a review on this game, first things first, because you can't really get into it. The game is not up for purchase right now, so whatever bugs are in the game, don't go in the water, by the way. If you go in the water, you freeze out really, really fast. Just a little heads up warning. I swam out there to like hunt a deer one time. There was a deer swimming through the water, and since he was slowed down, I decided I was going to swim out and bludgeon him to death with my axe. Anyways, let's see here. The game is not even out yet, so a lot of my complaints may be addressed by the time the game comes out in mid to late March. I don't know if it's planning. It just says March on Steam right now, and I know the developers are very active in the community. They answer a lot of questions, so they might be able to pop in on this video and let everybody know what the ETA is, but it seems as though they've taken kind of like a when it's ready approach, because they already pushed the game back by a month in February because they said that they thought it wasn't ready for, you know, primetime access on Steam. I think that was a good call. I think that a lot of developers put their game up on Steam far too early because they need that cash infusion, and I respect the decision to keep it off of Steam until people are going to like give it better reviews and like look at the game more favorably. That's what I would do with my game. I would keep it off Steam at all costs and just like work my day job until I felt like it was ready, and so I respect that decision. So it got pushed back from February to March, and I thought I was going to get to play it till March, and so it jumped onto my radar when they sent me a key. And as of right now, I would say that optimization-wise, let's start with optimization. The game does have a little bit of chop. You are going to run into problems with the frame rate every now and again if you're running... Oh, there's another flint right there. Hell yeah. If you run the game at anything higher... If you run the game at like anything higher than like the good or the beautiful settings, if you put them on fantastic or amazing or whatever the highest setting is, it's going to be like one of those things where it's every now and again you're just going to get some very strange chop. So obviously optimization issues are to be expected in a game that's not even released and not even in early access yet. I'm going to pick up these logs real fast. Don't mind me just picking up some logs right now. I think the graphics are nice. I think that they could tighten up some of the models and whatnot, but one thing I will mention is that I have everything turned down to medium, with a few exceptions on max right now, just because I didn't want to have like ridiculous chop in my first episode. And as of right now, with everything on medium and like half the things on maximum, it's running at a steady 60 frames frames. I've got a GTX 980, and I've got a couple of other components inside my computer that are pretty high-end because I built it for Twitch streaming in the last couple weeks. And so just to give you some ideas, some people say that I brag about that a lot. It's not bragging. I'm actually just giving people a benchmark from where they can look at their system now and they can know what to expect from the game. I do not get chop when I'm not recording, and so I'll put that out there. With it all on max settings, I don't get any chop when I'm not recording. It's just that when I have Fraps or Bandicam or, you know, whatever, OBS running, I have to turn it down a little bit. I think that the game actually, right now, the combat is a little loose. I'm hoping they tighten that up, but the game's not even in early access yet. It's not even in alpha yet. So, I mean, my observations thus far is that they have a lot of crafting and stuff in the game for you to do with your free time. Like, if you wanted to spend a lot of time working on stuff, you could do that with this game. You can build entire cities. You can get your Minecraft on as much as you want with this game. Unfortunately, the other half of it where you're exploring, kind of looking around, there is stuff to see. There is stuff to loot. There are loads of things to fight, mostly skeletons and wolves in my experience. I haven't found much other than that. Like deer, skeletons, and wolves seem to be the main things that I've come across. But you do find locations every 10, 15 minutes of wandering around that will provide you with a good 10, 15, 20 minutes of kind of just like looking under the nooks and crannies and like lifting the blankets and seeing what's underneath. There is lots of loot to be found. There's lots of things to be done at the moment when it comes to the construction and the exploration. It's just that I'd like things to be a little bit tighter. Some sort of narrative would be really, really cool. Like maybe go Terraria with it. You can build a city. I think it would be really, really cool for immigrants to move into your city and then provide services like they did in Terraria, like a first-person Terraria. Anybody? Sounds pretty cool to me. Anyways, let's get inland right now. My impressions of the game are, as of right now, in the middle of February when you can't even get the game. I would say that if you can get into that beta, go for it. Like, get it on roulette. If they were charging money for it right now, I'd say probably give it a month or two, which is better than I say about most games. Most games I'm like, yeah, this is nowhere near done. But I would keep an eye on the patch notes. Oh, we've got a... What the hell is that? Did you fall off a cliff or something? Yeah, well, my front door was locked, and so I decided I was going to try and force it with my shoulder, and well, as you can see, it didn't work out so great for me. This is actually going to work out pretty... There's a wolf right over there just hanging out with a deer. Ow! See, so right there, you see what happened? We lost 10% health right there, but there's no way to tell that you've been hit. Like, take a look at my health bar right now. I've lost almost 27% of our health. Is he dead yet? There we go. There's actually no way to tell if you're being hit or not. The game doesn't have like a flashing screen or like a hitting animation. There's no way for... Oh, we need that right there. Yeah, decayed flesh. Oh, no, wolf. We gotta... No, Wolfie! Don't... Oh, wow, you're kind of like nasty looking, aren't you? You look a little bit haggard, man. You need to get yourself, I don't know, a warm bath maybe. A nice meal. Oh, man, we're in trouble, right? I think this might be a dire wolf or something. I don't know. He took a lot more hits than some of the other wolves that I'm familiar with. There's, like, black wolves and there's white wolves. And this... What's that? I heard hoofs. Either way, we need this flesh right here if you're wondering why I'm so excited about the flesh. I'm excited about the flesh because we actually need it. Now, I'm going to eat some food to get our stamina and our health back because we're not looking so bueno right now. However, this cured meat should help out for a little bit. And so there it is. The disgusting sound of our chewing will guide us forward. Why is it that in video games, everybody doesn't know how to chew quietly? They're all just like, it's so delicious. I used to avoid it all the time. Like, I hated eating in DayZ. Oh, it was the grossest sound ever. Where the dude's just like, glomp, glomp, glomp. And it's like, oh, dude, don't do that. Oh, man, I'm going to ditch these logs for right now. Because I don't feel like they're going to be pertinent for a little bit. We're going to loot this wolf meat. There's a little bit of fur and a bone right there, and so we killed the wolf and then just ripped his bone from his body. The ultimate insult of the natural world. We've got don't eat decayed flesh. That's a terrible idea. There was another wolf over here, and I would be happy to say that I'd love to run him down real fast and get some more fur. If you look at our crafting menu, we've now got new stuff. So we've got wolfskin harnesses, so a full suit of wolfskin gear. That is going to be really, really hard to put together. I've never completed armor as of right now, but we've got the flesh-wrapped bag, which is pretty cool. We're going to have to get some sinews in order for that to work, which means we need to go deer hunting. You don't have melee, you don't have ranged weapons in the game right now, so hunting is a little bit sort of like weird and difficult, but I'll do my best to show you how to do it. It can be accomplished. It's just going to be complicated until we have bows and stuff in the game. The fur-lined backpack is also another thing that you might want to lean towards. Getting your storage expanded is a really, really good idea, because running around like not being able to carry your whole house along with you totally sucks. I just like having stuff on me. So there it is, a flesh-bound hammer. Huh, I've never seen that item before. It requires a bear claw, an oak skull smasher. It requires a wood log, a stick, a couple of animal bones, some sinew, and some strong sinew. I'm actually not inclined to craft that because you can get it from some of the skeletal mobs. You can get like a lot of the gear in this game. Just avoid like crafting it all together and just wait until you fight some more enemies, and then you can get some goodies out of it. But as you saw, the combat in this game is a little, not like super sketchy, but it's sketchy enough to where, like, sometimes you don't really know that you're taking a lot of... Oh, look, there's a giant tower over there. Shall we go and investigate in between this and the next episode? Huh? My name is Splattercat. Thank you for joining me here at the Nerd Castle for the next episode of Savage Lands. It's going to be the first episode. This is probably just going to be like a 5 to 10 episode expose of the game. Just sort of showing you what's going on in the pre-release version. I think that's a pretty good idea. I'm probably not going to make it into a full series until the game actually like comes out and has all of its rudiments in place. But for right now, with the implements that we've been given, I feel like we could drive a pretty good nail. So I'll see you later. How do everybody?